What's up, guys? This is Chris from Outlaw here, and today we're going to be doing another top 5. We're going to be doing a top 5 about Sig Sauer Pistols. I got asked the other day what was my favorite Sig Sauer pistols and if I'd do a video list on them, and I figured, why not? Give me an excuse to not only talk about Sig, but maybe a few other companies later in the year, CZ, Glock, etc. So if you have any opinions on what other lists we do besides this one, let me know in the comments. Before we get in this video, I just wanted to mention my patron supporters. We're not a big channel. We're not owned by a larger company. We have nothing but me and the missus out here. This is all us, so you patron supporters really make this channel possible. I appreciate you guys being able to help us support for ammunition and guns and just making my dream possible. So thank you very much. If you want to join the patron squad, all you gotta do is go to the link in the description and sign up. If you're not interested in patron, that's fine, but there's another link in the description, the YSS. It's a local shelter in Ames, Iowa. I actually met somebody the other day at a competition that had a child through there, and he was really happy I support it, so I'm reinvigorated to support that for sure. So please go down there and give a couple bucks to those kids. If everybody did it, they would have no more problems. So all you got to do, go down, put $1, it goes a long way. So today we're going to be talking about my 5 favorite Sig pistols, specifically ones that I think are a notch above the rest. And I've got a lot of experience with pistols, even more experience with Sig pistols. I've had quite a few on the channel, at least over a dozen for review, and I've shot plenty more than that off camera. I also have a lot of trigger time with a lot of other types of guns to be able to have some information to compare them to as well. And I picked 5 that I think will fit in a lot of different niches, but mostly they're my favorite based on not only the review, but just how much fun they are to shoot and how many different categories that they can flex in. Basically how many uses you could use the gun for. That being said, we're going to be basing this on not just my favorites, but reliability, durability, accuracy, ease of use, price, all that lovely stuff we take in consideration with every video. We're going to be taking that in consideration with this video as well. There's so many Sig pistols to choose from, so obviously there's going to be a ton that I leave off this list that are also awesome. And if they're your favorites, I'm sorry. Feel free to put your own list in the comment section. There's probably even some that I haven't heard of that I'd like to hear from you guys as well. So let's get right into it here with number 5. It's one of my personal favorites, may not make your list, but that would be the Sig P210. The 210 is a target pistol meant specifically for bullseye competition, but it also has seen plenty of military service. One of the finest military service pistols ever made, one of the highest quality with the highest craftsmanship, also one of the most expensive. That being said, it's an older design, but I still think it holds up today, and Sig thinks so too, considering they're going to be putting out newer versions of it here in the future, a carry version and several different versions. Now, if you know anything about Sig Sauer, they're from a couple of different countries, and each one of them makes kind of their own interesting P210. I have the American version, which a lot of people don't really care about, but I like it. On top of that, there's also different versions where you can get the standard version, which is what I had, or you can get the souped up target version with the target grips and stuff like that. But essentially, the 210 is a single action only pistol. Think of a European 1911 chambered in 9mm, and you're gonna get pretty damn close. 5-inch barrel, single action, but it has a lot lower bore axis than a 1911 does, allowing you a lot less recoil and muzzle flip, which is really nice, but maintaining that super awesome trigger. One of the best triggers ever put into a pistol, still in my top 5 best triggers, giving it some of the best accuracy you're ever going to get out of a handgun. One of the most accurate handguns that I've ever shot here on the channel, really only being held back by the fact that it is a single stack and it has a very low overall capacity. 36-ounce overall weight, nitron finish, 3-dot sights, walnut grips. The fit and finish are second to none, and it does come with 2 8-round magazines, and it does use the Browning action design, and it was sort of in a European 1911, but also not really. It's got a little bit different grip angle, lower bore axis, and the controls on the original P210 versus the 1911, the 210 is superior, although there's companies out today that make better 1911s, obviously, than 210 in my opinion, but the 210 still an absolutely phenomenal gun. For somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500, you can have one and you could shoot the daylights out of that thing. I'm telling you, one of the most inherently accurate pistols ever made, which is why I made the list. In at number 4, we have another Sig competition style pistol. At number 4, we have the X5 Legion, and the X5 Legion is, in my opinion, the best P320 variant. It has a 5-inch barrel, competition trigger in it, pretty awesome trigger even for a Sig, and Picatinny rail, and it has optics ready, and it comes with fiber optic sights. But the main thing about it is it has the tungsten infused grip module, which had not been a thing until the X5 Legion. The X5 Legion brought that on. You can actually buy that grip module now for lots of other P320 pistols if you so choose, which we'll get into here in a little bit. But the Legion was the first one that came out with that, and what that is a polymer frame that's relatively cheap that's infused with tungsten, making it a lot heavier. So think of a very heavy polymer. And why you would want that is because it's not only adds the weight to help decrease the muzzle flip and the recoil impulse, but it also keeps that polymer flex, giving you even less recoil impulse and making it a lot cheaper for you to be able to buy one as well. And because the 320 is so modular, as I said, you can actually pick that grip module up and put it on any full-size 320 that you want, making it pretty sweet. But as far as full factory 320s are concerned, the X5 Legion is probably my favorite because it comes with all the upgrades that you would want on a pistol to go real fast and shoot real accurately. It only comes in at 43 ounces, making it about the same weight as a 1911, but it shoots extremely smooth, and overall it's one of the best shooting Sig pistols that you're gonna get. And obviously you can get all the magazines and accessories that come with the 320 series, which is one of the most common pistols now on the market, maybe only eclipsed by the Glock. So any holster that you want, any mag that you want, set of sights, red dot, whatever you want to put on this thing, you can. And on top of that, you have the modularity of the 320 with the fire control unit and all that stuff, so you can switch out frames and grips and slides and whatever you want to do. But if you don't want to do any of that, like I said, the X5 Legion comes out of the box pretty amazing, and in my opinion, the best 320 variant out of the box. So the X5 Legion, if you're looking for anything plinking wise, competition wise, home defense wise, maybe not carry because it's so big and heavy, but at least those first three, the X5 Legion is really hard to beat. It's like having a CZ Shadow with a little shittier trigger, but it's the same trigger pull every time. And it is the most dominant striker fired pistol in competition today, which really says something. In at number 3 is going to be arguably my favorite Sig pistol. If I had to pick one Sig pistol to own, one ring to rule them all, I would pick the 226 Legion single action only. That being said, what's actually on the list is the 226 Legion. You can either get double single or you can get single action only. They come in both variants. However, in my opinion, the single action only version of it has a lot better trigger. Now the 226 has a 4.4 inch barrel and it comes in around the 32 ounce mark, 34 ounce mark. It is a double single action or single action 9mm pistol that has an aluminum grip. So it's an all metal gun, but the lower is aluminum instead of polymer or steel, which people are usually more familiar with. Aluminum guns were very popular for a long time, but they're not quite as popular now, but I think they should be. The 226 cut its teeth early in the Wonder 9 era. I was one of the first double stack 9mm pistols to ever be very reliable, very accurate. You know, back in the day before we had 100 different options, there's only a few, like maybe the original Glock 17, 226, and so on. And because of that, the 226 was chosen by one of the most elite military groups in the world, the Navy SEALs, and after that, it's all she wrote really, and the 226 was in every movie and video game since then, not only because it was proved just by the Navy SEALs, but it had a lot of military service with elite military units all around the world, and really nobody had a bad thing to say about them. They're one of the most reliable and durable pistols ever made, like literally ever made, not just for this list. And they have a military track record that is pretty much second to none, only exceeded by a couple of guns in history. So the 226 has the track record, has reliability, durability, but then the Legion series really takes it to another level with a better trigger, better ergonomics, awesome grips, extra magazines, better sights, the ability to mount a red dot. You can even get them with red dots on them right from the factory, which is how I got mine for review from a patron gentleman. I appreciate that. And that's one of those guns that I have never owned, but I've shot a bunch. I've had 1,000 rounds through his, and then I've shot a couple of my buddies, and I've always wanted one. The cool factor, the history to it, and also it's still a very effective weapon to this day. It really is the total package as far as the pistol's concerned. Small enough to carry, large enough to fight with, awesome at competition, home defense, concealed carry, whatever you'd want to use it for, the 226 will do the job, and it will probably do the job better than almost any other gun. So I'm a big fan of the 226, even bigger fan of the Legion series, and if you don't know anything about Sig, the Legion series generally just means it has extra bells and whistles. It's got a better coating, better grips, better trigger, better sights, all that stuff. So it is the premium version of one of the best and most highly touted military guns ever made. In at number 2 here, couldn't have this list without this gun. Highest selling gun of the last few years, it is the P365 and all of its variants. We're going to include the Spectre, the XL, the X. They make lots of different variants of the P365 because it is extremely popular. I can't stress that enough. Half the people I've met in the last 5 years that were carrying a gun were carrying a P365, and I'll tell you why. The P365 is extremely small, and it was the first of its kind. It was the first micro double stack. So it was a double stack pistol in the size of a 9mm single stack. So it was as small or even smaller than guns like the M&P Shield. However, it carried almost double the capacity. You can get them with 10-round mags, 12-round mags, 14-round mags, 16-round mags. They make all kinds of different capacities for those guns now, slide sizes and grip sizes. The general size that you'll see is between 3 and 4-inch barrel, which is very compact to carry, and they all come with pretty awesome accessories right out of the box. To be honest with you, the trigger's really good. They come with HD night sights right out of the box, and they have tons of variants as well. If you don't like the specific 365 that you see in your store, check out their website. They sell, like I said, tons of variants. That's one thing that Sig is very good with, is that they sell their guns with a lot of different accessories. One thing that Glock could really take note of, in my personal opinion. The texture's pretty good, but really what's awesome about it is the size to weight ratio versus capacity. It has been copied. Now you have a couple of different variants, but none of them nearly as proven as the Sig, and only maybe one or two that I could think of, like the Shield Plus, are of the same quality as the Sig. So the Sig P365 is not only one of the best carry guns of the last few years, but it's arguably one of the best carry guns ever made. So it's right up there with the original Glock 19 and several other, the original 1911, for a gun that kind of changed the game and brought so many more people into concealed carry, because now you have a caliber that you can have confidence in. You have a capacity to get the job done no matter what the job might be, but it's still small and light enough to be able to carry comfortably all day. Like I said, bringing so many more people into the concealed carry market, and man, I just gotta say, it's an impressive gun. And before we get to number one, we're gonna have one honorable mention. I could, again, put a lot of different pistols on this list, but there's one that really stood above the other ones in my personal opinion, and it was one that I almost made a top 6 Sig pistols for, so I figured I'd mention it here real quick, and that is gonna be the MPX. Now, the MPX is technically a pistol caliber carbine. You can even buy 16-inch versions of it, although the predominant version of the MPX that people buy is the pistol version. I'm cheating a little bit, but technically it is a pistol, and technically they do have 4.5-inch barrels, so they actually have a smaller barrel than a lot of the regular handheld pistols that we have on this list. MPX is one of the best pistol caliber carbines ever made, probably the most dominant pistol caliber carbine used in PCC division, so to leave it off this list would have kind of been a bit of a tragedy. Very low recoil, very accurate, very reliable, that you can buy yourself and use for home defense, plinking, have all types of fun with them. So had to put the MPX on the list as an honorable mention. Right before we get to number one, which I think is going to surprise a lot of people. It even surprised me when I put all these guns down on the list. I had a hard time not putting it number one just because of the capabilities of it. And that's going to be the fire control unit. Number one Sig pistol is the fire control unit. Technically it is the firearm, so technically it is a handgun by the definition of law, and it is the most modular system, in my opinion, available today. The fire control unit is essentially just a little chassis system with a trigger on it that you can buy from Sig for about $300. It has the custom shop, the pro shop trigger in it, or whatever the hell they call it. It's the advanced, awesome whiz-bang trigger that Sig puts in their Legion and several other pistols. But basically what I did to make my ultimate Sig pistol, which was the inspiration for putting this at number one, was I went to Sig's website, which is kind of like Toys R Us for adults, you know? It's like a Lego kits. You go there and you can pick whatever slide you want, whether a 3-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch, whatever slide. I went with the 5-inch Pro slide, and you can buy whatever grip you want. I went with the P80, but you can get the Legion, you can get the AGX or AXG, you can get a regular polymer, you can get the M17. You can build whatever gun you want with this fire control unit, anywhere from a small subcompact all the way up to an extremely large and heavy carry gun. And the cool part about it is you don't have to do it once. You could do it whenever you want. So you could buy the fire control unit and buy all the parts for a 5-inch gun, and then you could take the fire control unit out of there and put it in the grip and slide for a 3-inch gun and have a carry gun. And then you could have a 4-inch compact gun if you so choose, or you could have a 4-inch with a full-size grip to use for a suppressor host with a light on it so it's not so heavy out front. Or you could use that for a compensated gun and run it in open division. And you could just keep flipping this fire control unit back and forth between a whole bunch of different parts and accessories with no extra issue to you. And the reason why I really like the fire control unit is if you're in a state, let's say, that has a long waiting period, or maybe you can only buy a couple of guns a year, which sadly those states do exist. If you're in them, I'm sorry. But you could get the fire control unit and then everything else is non-regulated. So you could essentially have 10 pistols and to everyone else's knowledge, you only have one. And that's one of the coolest and most inventive things I've heard of in the firearms market in the last few years. So that's the only reason why it beats the Sig, is because I feel like it has a little more ingenuity with it, and I think that it gives people options that they never had before. And I think having one fire control unit that you can make tons of different guns, it's just really hard to beat that, because you could essentially build yourself any number of the other guns on the list with that fire control unit. They even make a fire control unit for the 365, I believe, so you could even build out your own variants of that gun as well, making it pretty much unbeatable. If you like this list, let me know. Please like and subscribe. Please help out your local homeless shelters, and remember to recycle. I'll check you later.
Uh-oh. I accidentally wore my farting shoes. I'm gonna have to make sure they don't fart during the video.
Okay. They're cheetah sandals for those who can't see them, which makes it even funnier.
And they fart.
They do fart. They're the farting Cheeto. What's Chester Cheeto? Chester Cheeto if he's dropping ass.